The storm was unlike anything Lieutenant Marcus Hale had ever seen on Earth. The wind screamed with a voice sharp enough to peel the skin from his cheeks, and the air was so thick with ionized dust that his visor struggled to filter the static flashes into something navigable. He pressed forward through the storm on the uncharted moon, clutching his beacon transmitter tight to his chest as though the thin metal cylinder could anchor him to sanity. This wasn't supposed to happen. The drop shuttle had been scheduled to deploy supplies, gather mineral samples, and leave. Routine. Textbook. Instead, the weather turned feral in less than an hour, and the shuttle had lifted off prematurely, abandoning Hale and 3 other surveyors to trek back to the research outpost on foot. At least, he thought grimly, I'm not the only one caught out here. He stumbled down a rocky slope toward the faint shimmer of light at its base. Something moved in the storm, a shape too slender to be one of his team. Hale's instincts screamed at him to raise his pulse rifle, but when the lightning cracked overhead, the storm lit the figure in pale blue. It wasn't human. The being hunched low against the gale, thin limbs wrapped tightly around itself, trembling visibly. A gossamer sheen clung to its skin, like liquid silver stretched too thin. 4 elongated fingers pressed desperately into its own shoulders as if holding itself together against the cold. Hale froze. His training screamed observe, report, avoid engagement until protocols are clear. This was first contact. Humanity had never met sapient extraterrestrials outside of theory and a few cryptic signals. His breath came ragged inside his helmet. Then the alien shivered. Violently. Against all sense, Marcus stepped forward. The thing flinched but didn't flee. It swayed, clearly weakened, and its posture stabbed at some buried place in his chest. The image was too familiar. A body huddled against impossible cold. He'd been a child once, caught in a winter blackout after his parents' heater failed. He remembered being wrapped in a neighbor's coat, the first warmth in hours. Before he realized what he was doing, Hale was unsealing his jacket. The exofiber coat was lined with thermal gel, designed for deep space chills. He stepped close and draped it over the alien's shoulders. The alien stiffened, then relaxed with a sound halfway between a sigh and a chime. Its large eyes, black with specks of glowing amber, met his. For a heartbeat, something unspoken passed between them, and the alien pressed its 4-fingered hand to the coat as though reverently acknowledging it. "Stay warm," Hale muttered, though he knew the translator in his helmet was useless with no language base to work from. He gave a clumsy gesture toward the distant ridge that hid the outpost. "Shelter." The alien tilted its head, then fell into step behind him. The middle. By the time they reached the outpost, the storm had begun to relent. Hale's 3 teammates erupted in disbelief at the sight of him guiding the slender creature through the airlock. "Are you insane?" Dr. Lena Vey hissed. The xenobiologist's eyes bulged behind her visor. "You brought an unclassified organism into the base. Do you want us all quarantined forever?" She was freezing to death out there. Hale snapped louder than he meant to. His adrenaline still ran hot. "I couldn't just." "She." Engineer Ortega raised a brow. "Figure of speech." Hale set his jaw. "Look, we can keep her in the medbay containment field." But she needed help. The alien sat quietly as though unmoved by the human bickering. Wrapped in his jacket, she radiated calm now, though her eyes never left Hale. Dr. Vey huffed but relented when she saw the creature's condition. "Fine. Containment field, full scans. And you," she jabbed a finger at Hale. "Deccan procedure now." Hours passed in a blur of medical tests and frantic chatter sent back to Central Command. The alien never resisted. She submitted to scans, samples, and endless prodding. She did not, however, remove Hale's jacket. Even when offered sterilized thermal sheets, she shook her head, clutching the coat tighter. It was during the second night that Hale awoke to find her standing just outside his quarters. The outpost doors should have been locked, but she seemed to have no trouble bypassing them. Her eyes glowed faintly in the dark. She raised one delicate hand and touched her chest, then touched the coat. Her lips, or what passed for them, moved in soft musical tones. The translator chirped uncertainly. Bond keeper vow. Hale blinked. What? The alien reached out and with great solemnity, pressed her palm to his chest just over his heart. The translator tried again. You accepted joining life-binding, eternal warmth. The words landed like stones in his stomach. Eternal warmth. Life-binding. He swallowed hard. You think giving you my coat was marriage? The translator finally spat with eerie certainty. Hale nearly tripped over his own boots. Wait. That was no. I was just. He gestured wildly. On my planet, it's just kindness. Someone's cold, you give them a jacket. That's it. The alien's glowing eyes blinked slowly. She tilted her head as though parsing the absurdity. Then, softly, she gave another chime-like sigh. Human, strange, the translator rendered, though there was no anger in her tone. Instead, she smiled, an expression that seemed universal across stars. But vow received. Hale groaned, dragging a hand down his face. Escalation. Over the next weeks, contact protocols ground forward under the bureaucratic weight of Earth Command. The alien, who the translator eventually rendered as Tsera, was studied obsessively. She revealed that her people lived deep within the moon's subsurface oceans, venturing rarely to the surface except in sacred rites. She had been caught by the storm during such a rite and would not have survived without him. To Tsera, there was no misunderstanding. The gifting of warmth was the most sacred form of union among her people, a vow stronger than any legal decree. She behaved accordingly, shadowing Hale constantly. She brought him small offerings, shards of crystal that refracted light in dazzling colors, strange fruits from the hydrothermal caves. She learned human words with startling speed. Her voice always soft, musical. The rest of the crew teased him relentlessly. Congratulations, Hale, Ortega smirked one morning. First man in history to get space married by accident. It's not, Hale rubbed his temples. It's a cultural misunderstanding. That's all. Dr. Vey snorted. Try telling her that. Honestly, you could do worse. She's polite, considerate, and actually listens when people talk. Thanks, Hale muttered. But a shadow loomed over their strange camaraderie. Earth Command, ever cautious, debated whether Tsera's people posed a threat. Some factions argued she should be transported for study on Earth. Others whispered about quarantines or containment measures. Tsera sensed the unease. One evening, she sat with Hale by the observation dome, staring at the storms beyond. Your people fear me, she said haltingly in her accented English. They don't know you yet, Hale replied carefully. She turned to him, eyes glowing faint. But you did not fear. You gave warmth. To us, that is forever. He met her gaze and, for the first time, felt the weight of her belief. Not just a cultural quirk. To her, their bond was real, sacred, unbreakable.